We were reading on the third verse of Manaḥ-śikṣā. Who knows the third verse as well? Let's see, Mataji, so learning. Where Raghunath Das Goswami, who is also known as Das Goswami, and saying, mind, listen to me, if you desire to reside in Braj, birth after birth, and if you desire to directly serve the useful divine couple, then with great love always remember and bow down before Śivarāma Damodar Goswami, Śivarupa Goswami, his elder brother Śrīla Sanatana Goswami, and all their associates and followers. And we concluded by talking about the importance of our 6 Goswami line. You'll see that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami mentions these 6 Goswamis: Narottam Das Thakur, H.I. Gosai, Mohitada Das, then Pada Charana Renu, say more grass. These dust from the feet of the 6 Goswamis is my foodstuff. There are so many Vaishnavas, so many Goswamis. However, Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Raja Suyogitam. So what's the parampara? What's the line in which we find ourselves? Because ultimately, one always has to sampradaya vihinasti mantrasti nishkilamata. So one has to receive transcendental knowledge, one has to receive mantras that are coming down in a parampara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't have any initiated disciples, he didn't initiate anyone, but he gave instructions to many, many devotees. However, his most intimate associate, Kaviraj Goswami calls his second body, was Swarup Damodar Goswami, whose original name was Purushottam Acharya. And he lived just across there in Godruma. If you go to Thakur Bhakti Vinod's house, right beside, going in towards the town, towards our right, you'll find a small house converted into a temple. That was his place of residence. So Swarup Damodar Goswami, he then came to Jagannath Puri when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from his South India tour, and he was Lord Chaitanya's secretary. And his assistant was Raghunath Das Goswami. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya, what Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy also heard in the Gambhira and exchanged with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, those pastimes, as well as the Siddhanta, or the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, which we will also find in his discussion, which is called Ramananda Samvad. So the discussions with Ramananda Roy, which Srila Prabhupada calls the search for the ultimate goal of life. Yesterday, I just saw a quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain was a wise person, wise man. Aside from writing entertaining books for children, but he said there are two important days in your life. First one is when you're born. No, the second one is when you die. And the second one is when you realize why you were born. So, in search of the ultimate goal of life, what is the ultimate goal of life beyond which there is nothing? This was really very rarely known before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, and if it wasn't publicized. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed on those teachings to Swarup Damodar Goswami, who taught the means to attain that ultimate goal of life to two people. One was Raghunath Das Goswami, and the other one was Rakeshwar Pandit. He didn't teach them the same sadhana. Raghunath Das Goswami, he taught what is called the esoteric path, which means it's secret, it's internal. It's an internal cultivation. Seva sadhaka rupena, siddha rupena chakri. And to Rakeshwar Pandit, he taught another path which is called exoteric, which is external. Both are valid. That from Rakeshwar Pandit, then Dhyanachandra Goswami, Gopal Guru Goswami, and Gopal Guru Goswami, Dhyanachandra Goswami, and sometimes we even refer to Dhyanachandra Goswami's Padati. Padati means the systematic process for sadhana. So, but we follow Raghunath Das Goswami. Other one may be fine, but still we don't follow it. And then there may be so many other teachings and so many other perspectives that others may have on the path to the ultimate goal of life. We don't follow them. We're in the Madhava Sampradaya, technically, because you have to be in one of the four Sampradayas. But Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we don't follow the path of the Madhavas. In fact, there are very serious distinctions and differences between followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and strict followers of Madhava Acharya. For instance, they don't really like this Radha Krishna Lila or Krishna's Gopi Lila. They don't accept Brahma Vimohana Lila. They don't accept Brahma's being an illusion, because how can the founder of Acharya be an illusion? So, and there are others, but we're in the Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. We offer them all respect. Very exalted, lifelong celibate, very strict followers. When we went once or twice to Udupi Shandidar. Twice. place was too much. I mean, even how I went the second time is a miracle. It's just too dirty. People just dump their garbage. Throw the garbage out on the street. You walk down the street, there's garbage. In garbage bags, but they throw them everywhere. And of course dogs get into the garbage bags. Anyhow. But we went there and we saw Rupa Krishna and other holy places, very, very nice. And at that time the current Acharya was very old and he was sort of leaving his body. We were invited to go see him, but we didn't go. But still, that's not who we follow. So there may be many great devotees. We may offer our respects and obeisances to many of them. For instance, often we hear about Vadakund Babajis or Babajis in a derogatory term, but they're not all fallen. Some of them may be very advanced. Some of them may be realized on the path that they take, but it's still not our family. Our family is Bande Rupa Sanatano Vagvayago Shri Jiva Gopalako. So from Raghunath Das Goswami and that same process Rupa Goswami has written Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So following the path given, what I was just looking up earlier, I spoke about Narayan Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami had a disciple. His name was Hit Harivams. He was very advanced. He was advanced in spontaneous devotion, and he started to have followers, and that he was offered a sort of practice saying that if the essence of spontaneous devotion is you follow the residents of Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan, for instance, don't follow Ekadasi, they said. So therefore, if we're following them, we shouldn't follow. So this, and there were other similar changes. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami rejected him. He said, "You're not my disciple anymore." That's not the main part of the story. At night, Srimati Radharani appeared to Gopal Bhatta. Said, "Why have you rejected him? He's a very good devotee. He chants. The point that he's saying doesn't follow Ekadasi. It's not the end of the world. Why should you reject him?" On his dream, Gopal Bhatta Goswami said, "You're testing me." He said, "I know that our path externally is Seva Sadhaka Rupena, that we conduct ourselves as sadhakas. And it's internally that we may follow the residents of Vrindavan. But when we follow them externally, then it becomes imitative, and that then becomes sahaja. So I think that I've done the right thing. Otherwise, if I don't, then people will also think that it's all right to do this. So that Srimati Radharani was very pleased. She said, yes, you're right. I was testing you. So, yes, we have a certain line, a certain method, and that is what we've received through Bhaktivinoda Thakur. For instance, the followers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur are called Bhaktivinoda Parivar. Then the followers in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they're also the Saraswat Sampradaya. And Srila Prabhupada, well, we devotees sometimes coin this phrase, Prabhupada Nuga. And yes, that we have to follow strictly according to what our Acharya, current Acharya gives. Sometimes devotees read books, even by our own exalted Acharyas like, who knows, Jiva Goswami, who says something in his books. And Srila Prabhupada apparently says something contrary. Now, who knows better what Jiva Goswami says? Me? By reading a book? Or Srila Prabhupada, who has realized the teachings that have come down from our parampara. So Prabhupada would always emphasize going through, don't jump over. This concept of jumping over, going to somebody else because I think that they are advanced, and we have faith in the process that we've received and that it works. Everyone will have to wait their own turn in time until we also get the result. Our path is a internal one, which means that you're not going to necessarily externally see what happens to others, or even necessarily see how it transpires with you until it manifests within. So Svarutamdar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and therefore when devotees start reading books other than Srila Prabhupada's books, and they're not, it's not forbidden to read other books, but then we should read the books of these devotees. Of course, Prabhupada already gave us Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is most important. Sanatana Goswami, of his books, actually all of these acharyas and their books, Kaviraj Goswami lists in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, such an important book. Laghu Bhagavatamrita. If you have any questions, whatever questions you have in reading Bhagavatam, Rupa Goswami answers them all. And Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas. If we really want to know what our philosophy is, then we study the Sandarbhas. So, stay faithful to the line of our acharyas. We shouldn't stray, even if we see others who are very advanced. Unfortunately, there are many others who also criticize. They criticize Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and so on. Even his god brother is criticized. So let's start on verse 4, and to now, Raghunath Das Goswami has encouraged us and given us some friendly advice. Now he becomes very, very pointed and uses very strong language. We'll do it responsively. Asadvarta Vesha Visvijamati Sarvasvaharani. Excuse me, that's not very poetic. Asadvarta Vesha Visvijamati Sarvasvaharani. Kata Mukti Vyagriya Nashrinu Kila Sarvatma Gilani. Vatyakva Lakshmi Patiratim Mito Vyomna Nayanim. Praji Radha Krishna Swarati Manido Tvam Bhajak Mana. Give up the prostitutes of friendship with non-devotees, prostitutes who will steal the treasure of your heart. Don't listen to the words of the tigers of impersonal liberation, which devour everyone. Give up attraction for Lord Narayana, which leads to the world of Vaikuntha. O mind and Braj, worship Shri Radha Krishna, two philanthropists who give away the jewel of pure love. In almost every verse, Raghunath Das Goswami keeps pounding through worship Radha Krishna. He may give different names to Radha Krishna. Here we have Sri Radha Krishna. In another verse we have Gandharva Giridhari. In another verse we have the divine couple. So worship Radha Krishna, repetition. It's certainly a process that Srila Prabhupada also employed. Now he says, Veshya. Asadvarta Veshya Vishrija Mati Sarvasva Harani. He says, give up the prostitutes of friendship with non-devotees, prostitutes who will steal the treasure of your heart. It requires clarification because it's impossible for us not to interact with non-devotees. In fact, not to be friendly with non-devotees. In order to preach and spread Krishna consciousness, very often we get quite involved with non-devotees, act friendly. Sometimes we're even invited to certain non-devotee functions, and we have to go. Because often in the world today, especially outside of India, but even sometimes inside India, we require support. And we get support also from non-devotees. Is Krishna consciousness movement authentic? Academics will say, yes, it is. It's not a cult. Gaudiya Vaishnavism is an authentic 500-year-old spiritual tradition, and which even then goes back further. We're going back to Krishna. So of course their dating is a little different than ours, but nonetheless, back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's no argument. So you can't always just take, and then sometimes you also have to give. That also can become a little problematic. But in preaching, one also always has to be very careful not to get entangled. So the prostitutes of friendship, he uses this word prostitute, Besya, means prostitute. So who's a prostitute? Someone who, uh, for a price, loves you. But as soon as, you got your money's worth, that's it, you're out the door. So similarly, interaction with non-devotees from the spiritual point of view can't be a dependent one. In other words, our spiritual life and our material life should not be dependent on others, but rather we should always remain independent. So prophylactic, that you interact, but you don't get contaminated. It's art, skill. It's an art. It's something that devotees need to know, and if you don't know, then you stay away. So, of course, what about parents, past friends, and so on? Well, past friends, they sort of disappear pretty fast. You really find out who your friend was when you join Krishna consciousness. So they're not so much of a problem. Relatives, yes, we have a relationship. Or do we have an obligation? Well, no, not according to Srimad Bhagavatam. Sasta Bhakti Bhagavati. No, it's not the verse I wanted to quote. But nonetheless, whether it's Deva Shibhuta Taninam Pitrinam Nakin Karanayan John. So one has an obligation to many personalities. This verse says, well, your parents brought you up. Literally speaking, your mother gave you her body. You're produced from her body. So there's certainly a lot of attachment from their point of view, and generally, from the material point of view, one has an obligation, but if one becomes a Vaishnava, then one is freed from that obligation. That doesn't mean that you reject. It means that the interaction should be what is acceptable in the minimum that's acceptable in society, so that people don't criticize, because our movement has gone through so much difficulty by what disgruntled parents caused. You don't have experienced so much of deprogramming, but in my time, in the 70s and 80s, this was like a big thing. Parents were paying thugs to kidnap their children and to then deprogram them, which means keep them separate from devotees and, brainwash them, even sometimes, invite prostitutes in to tempt them. And in many cases, we lost devotees like that. And of course, the greater charge which came that ISKCON, and not just us, but other so-called new religious movements, were brainwashing people. Now, what brainwashing people is a very subjective term to say that someone's brainwashing. So, and part of that was because devotees were really quite immature in how to deal with parents and relatives. In other words, they're demons, they're Maya, they reject them, and so on, rather than see that, yes, I should show affection, I should reciprocate, but there's a limit. So, yeah, for instance, when there was even Niranjan Swami, when he was on the stand in court, and they brought in a picture of Nrsimhadev. And he says, "Sir, can you tell me what this picture's all about?" It's the court. He says, "Who's that half lion, half man?" "Well, that's God." "And who's on his lap?" "Oh, that's a demon." "And who's the little boy standing over there offering a garland?" "Oh, that's the son of the of the demon." So it requires a little explanation to understand what it was about. But anyway, that court case they lost. And there are other court cases, for instance, one where ISKCON had to fork out $14 million for not knowing where to draw the line, or at least not drawing the line, but completely rejecting. But still, one should be very careful. Why? Because our whole business is developing attachment. Friendship means attachment, is developing attachment to Krishna and to Vaishnavas. And when our attachment goes in the direction of non-devotees, then ultimately that will steal. Like prostitutes, they steal your money on the pretext of love. So we don't want to say that that's what parents are like, but Das Goswami is using very strong language so that we can actually recognize that there is a real danger over here. And the treasure of our heart, what is the treasure of a practicing devotee? Is increased attachment to Krishna. The more our attachment increases, then the more we know that we're advancing, and the more we become detached. So we'll continue tomorrow, but we begin with verse 4 here, very thought-provoking instructions, which really just cut away all the extra flack to very clearly define what is our line of Krishna consciousness, especially when he says, don't be attached to Lord Narayan, which means, and any of the incarnations of Lord Narayan. Anyway, more about that tomorrow. Jai Shri Śivarāma Damodar ki Jai, Swami ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.